Well, now we come to the last entry in Hammer's Frankenstein series and the last film of director Terence Fisher. In addition, it marks the return of Peter Cushing to the title role after Ralph Bates took over in the horror of Frankenstein. Obviously, this all makes one wonder if the movie itself is up to standard. Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell begins with Simon Helder being committed to an insane asylum for gathering body parts with the intention of restoring life. Upon being admitted, he becomes acquainted with the resident Dr. Carl Victor, who is revealed to be the infamous Frankenstein. Previously a patient, Frankenstein was able to fashion a new identity and gain a prominent position at the asylum after blackmailing the corrupt director. Taking Helder as an apprentice, Frankenstein sets out to continue his experiments by using his patients for parts. Right off the bat, this movie has a golden opportunity for horror and shock value. Frankenstein working at an asylum. It seems like the idea could write itself. However, this makes it all the more disappointing that the movie itself is of average quality. Much of that comes from the acting, which is predictably accomplished. Aside from the wig, Peter Cushing fits right back into the role of Frankenstein and once again carries the movie effortlessly. Unfortunately, he's given almost nothing new to work with. He remains as compelling as ever, but almost every facet of his character here has been implemented in other films. Shane Bryant is decent as Helder, believably detached from human emotion in a way that convinces you that he has the same goals as Frankenstein. He also shows a creepy politeness that makes him fairly entertaining, especially when paired with how frank he often is with his gruesome intentions. John Stratton is a bit too goofy in his over-the-top nervousness and jittery mannerisms. His performance honestly seems more suited to a comedy than a horror film. Madeline Smith does reasonably well as the mute Sarah, even though, again, we've essentially seen this type of character before in The Evil of Frankenstein. Speaking of familiarity, David Prowse once again plays the creature this time around. Unfortunately, although he displays a believably animalistic personality, his efforts are sabotaged by the costume and makeup, which extremely limit any kind of expression. Funnily enough, Cushing and Prowse would later act opposite each other as Tarkin and Darth Vader respectively in Star Wars, where the former would act everyone else under the table. Seriously, his only competition was Alec Guinness. Getting back on topic, the acting here is complemented by the atmospherically bleak direction by Terence Fisher. The scenes when the creature wakes up after the brain transplant are somber and impactful. However, it is difficult to deny that the premise is ultimately wasted in favor of the same predictable story that we've seen before, with the asylum setting adding surprisingly little to the formula. Take the TV show Hannibal, in which the characters have thought-provoking conversations about the human psyche and analyze the concept of a serial killer in terms of their conscious and subconscious motivations. The writers of that show really challenge their audience from many different perspectives. Imagine if this movie found a way to blend that psychological angle with Frankenstein's more biological understanding of the mind. We could have had a very fascinating film. Instead, the filmmakers were mostly content to make another creature feature. Combine this with the fact that the script recycles several ideas from previous movies. For example, Helder is basically a variation on Dr. Cleve from The Revenge of Frankenstein. However, with all of that taken into account, the movie still works on a technical level. The only exception is the creature suit, which is not all that impressive, is not explained very well, and certainly doesn't live up to the title. However, the sets and other costumes are well made, as is expected from Hammer by this point. In conjunction, the aforementioned direction and tone are grimmer than the previous outings and effectively set the harsh mood. The same goes for James Bernard's more understated musical score. Overall, while Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell suffers from a predictable story and unrealized potential, the musical and directorial prowess, ominous atmosphere, gritty production design, and capable actors might make it worth a watch.